Hey everybody, welcome back to the Backstage Pass. This is LSV for life. It's week 6 of Twitch and Box Sports Talk. Man, some definite upsets this week. A lot of things to cover, and a short amount of time to get there because we're starting late tonight. So Big Will, I'm going to turn it over to you, Box. Where do you want to start?
We're going to start off with the fan favorite. Had lots of comments on this one last week, and we're going to roll into it again. Is the things that made us twitch. And I'm going to throw it to the Twitch himself. Twitch, what made you twitch this week from the NFL Week 5 slate?
Well, NFL definitely over the last several years has become a league of parity. And so while most of us, that's what makes us enjoy the NFL and the upsets, as most time you root for the underdog, I was just wondering if there's any actual good teams. A lot of good football, a lot of close football, but also, I went 5-9 my weekly picks, just games that just made me twitch. It's just like I said, you like to see the upsets for the ratings and close games once again all the way across the board. But that's what made me twitch, was just like teams that I felt that, kudos to Denver. In Denver, we've agreed as a playoff team. And then having, of course, the Patriots going to be, I think, a borderline playoff team. Who knows? I said, but I consider them middle of the tier, not quite there as far as contenders and or on a different level. Or of course, even last night's. We've said all year not to sleep on Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence still a couple years away from winning a playoff game. However, just across the board, teams that Chiefs are supposed to be Super Bowl contenders and the Eagles and everybody else, and just across the board, a lot of upsets. So that was the thing that made me twitch. It was just like I almost want to see this. You didn't like it when it was happening, but it's like you almost want to see that dominance of a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, just for the fact of, okay, you may not be happy that they're winning all the time, but it felt like it meant a little bit more when they would get upset. So
yeah,
too many upsets this week. A couple was okay, but I was just, are there any actual great dominant teams? And we'll get to that later, but just teams that look great one week and then the next week just completely shit the bed.
Yeah,
so.
Nobody's parlays hit this week. That's for sure. Yeah, I'll take one, and that's just because it's still freshly on the brain and stings a little bit. Watched the Chiefs and Jags last night play, and you sit there and you watch that game down to the wire, and you think you know what's going to happen, and I woke up this morning after thinking, okay, now we're 2-3, and the box sent us hey, did you watch this last play of the game? And it was essentially 30 seconds left on the clock. Trevor Lawrence has got the ball. They're down in goal line situation, and he slips and falls and then gets back up and nonchalantly jogs into the end zone to take that game. And I didn't notice it in real time, so I guess this is why it makes me twitch, is that, the box sent me this video clip off of X, and it was Chris Jones just nonchalantly walking down the goal line. So he had opportunities to make that play. I don't know what happened with him. He statistically was not even involved in that game. Last week he had some things going on personally that he was struggling with. He showed up with a lot of heart and played, but they showed him a couple times on the sideline, and he looked super disengaged. And I don't know that that's anything to be concerned about. We all have our off weeks, but to see a guy that in that moment, that is definitely a pivotal, stand your ground, keep him out of the end zone, and let's see how this game plays out. And he was just non-existent. So that was a little tough to swallow, because when we talk about this later, the next 4 weeks for the Chiefs are there's a lot of things to be concerned about, and that schedule is going to be brutal. I'm curious to see what that race to 7 is in the AFC West. The Raiders won't be a part of that conversation, I don't think, but the Broncos and Chargers are sitting there at 3-2. Chiefs are at 2-3, and of those 3 teams in the AFC West, the Chiefs, I think, have the hardest schedule. So they're going to have to step up and figure out how to get to that 7-game win column. So that's me. I don't know what's going on with Chris Jones last night, but I'm going to try to let that go before this next weekend.
I just remember our football coaches and always talking you're standing there with your hand on your dinghy when you make a mistake or not really trying, and then he literally, that's what he was doing. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
I'm going to have kind of a three-parter here, but also this is just the Cardinals organization in a whole, and I feel like this embodies what's happening at the Cardinals this year. But rookie running back, third-string running back, granted, because the last two got put on IR, fumbles the ball at the goal line again. It's like kind of a cult situation from last week, and it's happened multiple other times this year. But he drops the ball before he crosses the goal line on a big run. I think it was at least 40-plus yards. It was a big run. Gets in. L'Jarius Sneed's there to kind of knock it out and make sure like it didn't cross the goal line. But just
I think it was like 80 yards.
it was a big play and just gets knocked out of the goal line. Like, come on, make anybody twitch. I'm glad I'm not a Cardinals fan, or else I'd be way more pissed off about it. But then that's not even the craziest thing that happened in this game. Later down with 3rd and 2 with 4:40 left or 4:50 left, Kim Worth, there's an interception. So Cardinals seal the game. They're up 21-12. Defender fumbles it into the end zone for a Calvin Ridley recovery touchdown. And the Titans hold on for the win in this one because the Cardinals generated, obviously, barely any offense the whole game. So
Tighten up.
yeah, tighten up, I guess. I mean,
Titans tough defense.
I mean, and you think with 4 minutes left for a good NFL team like the Lions or like not the Eagles, obviously last week they lost, but like a good NFL team, they're gonna 4 minutes they can get down and score again. But when you have a not explosive offense like the Cardinals, it kills you. And then the last thing here is Jonathan Gannon, the head coach for the Cardinals. I understand he was very upset, but he physically punches his running back a couple times. Not in the face or anything, but he gives him a couple good body shots when he's yelling at him, mad at him for dropping the ball. And he also got fined, I think it was $200,000 a day, which, maybe for him that's not a lot of money. But for a college student like me, that's a shit ton of money. That's tuition times a million. But just Cardinals organization made me twitch looking at him, saying, I'm glad Denver's no longer in those days.
Right.
But going to roll into the injury report here. Lamar Jackson still out with the hamstring, questionable to come back this week, which will be pivotal in the Ravens Ravens game later on. And then Omario Hampton, stud running back, rookie running back for the San Diego Chargers, gets put on IR, probably out for the season with his knee injury. And then Mark Sanchez got stabbed. He's not an NFL guy. I mean, he's an NFL commentator. The whole situation is kind of crazy. I'm not going to speak on it because of how violent it was and all the stuff that's come out now. But if you're interested to go look it up on X news stations have been reporting on it. The whole situation in general was crazy. But knock on wood, this week in general was not big injury week, thank goodness. I mean, no really big names went down besides, a couple dinks and dings here and there. But across the board, everybody got out somewhat healthy. But that's going to lead us into, this going to make Finn really happy here, is we had our first trade of the year. That's an impact trade of the year. And it's this was going to be the thing that made me twitch. Is I had my thing that made me twitch is the Bengals need to get a quarterback for these weapons that they're paying all this money to. And today they trade for Joe Flacco for a fifth and a sixth round pick, or the other way around. Is they sent the Cleveland Browns fifth round pick, and in return they got Joe Flacco and a sixth round pick. So the Bengals have their quarterback. This is the guy they're looking at for taking to the promised land.
Yeah, I don't think they're still either, no offense, Finn, but a playoff team, but definitely somebody that's experienced veteran where you definitely, if you're an opposing team, you have to show up and play. He may not be one of the all-time greats, or his best days might be behind him, but a guy that's been in the league for 18 years now, and has given shots to the arm for Cleveland a couple times, and with the Colts some last year. So a guy that can win and at least give guys like Chase and Higgins a chance, to make their plays. So definitely makes them I feel a more formidable or better team down the stretch. Obviously, if you're Cincinnati, wishful thinking, but best case scenario, he gets them a little over 500, about 500, and then Burrow's able to come back in December. But I think that's all a moot point. But if you're Cleveland, I know the main focus is about Flacco, but if you're Cleveland, I think that just goes to show it, because you basically gave him for nothing, So getting rid of Flacco tells me that they're really trying to see what they have in Gabriel, and then if that falters as well, we'll see if Sanders makes an appearance. I think before the end of the year he does make an appearance. But going with the young guys, I think is sending a guy like Joe Flacco to a division rival that they want to see, that they're committed to seeing what they have in their young guys if you're Cleveland.
Yeah, and I think part of that is just it's early enough in the season that the Bengals need to stay relevant. And then when you look at the injuries that have taken place with Lamar, and they've lost a couple key games where you go, you know what? Yeah, the Steelers are jumping out to the early lead, but we've talked about this outside of the podcast that Steelers might have some struggles towards the end of the season, and so you need to stay relevant during this middle third of the season to say, hey, you never know what's going to happen during the course of the next 6 to 7 weeks, but you have to find a way to stay relevant. And so you got to go out and you get somebody that, like you said, can put the ball in the wide receiver's hands that you spent a lot of money to help get you to that point. And so I think it's an okay pickup. I think you do something. You don't sit there and throw away a season after 5 weeks. So
Well, even just Cincinnati's offense has been literally non-existent since Browning came in and performed pretty well against, ironically, Jacksonville the second week of the season. But just even getting several first downs a game and getting that Cincinnati defense, which is already, we've talked about, kind of middle of the pack or below, just having a guy like Flacco gives the defense a little bit of a breather, I feel.
Yep.
Or will.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a good. I mean, like you said, Flacco's not going to go out and win you a Super Bowl, but he's going to keep you relevant enough to keep the fans happy that they're not going to want to, riot and fire everybody and get Zach Taylor fired. I mean,
It is Cincinnati, though.
yeah, it is Cincinnati as well. And, I mean, that division, who I had slated being the second best division in the AFC, is turning out to maybe be the AFC South of what we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
But also,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's all the talk about what was going to take place in the AFC North. That's quickly fallen apart, and now there's really only one relevant conversation, and it's coming from a guy that's not even picking his own team half the time. So, what's next?
going to roll into our question of the week. Week 6 question of the week is we're going to rate our top 3 favorite jersey combos in NFL history. So we're talking all time. So my top 3 all time, I'm biased. I'm a Broncos fan. So the Orange Crush throwback jerseys, both of my Broncos jerseys I currently own are Orange Crush throwback jerseys. I just love the good throwback. The orange with the baby blue on the helmet looks nice. My number 2 is the Kelly Green Eagles jerseys. I feel like you can't go wrong with a Kelly Green. I mean, it just looks sick. And, I mean, obviously Saquon put it back on the map last year with the backwards hurdle wearing it. So, I mean, it's iconic again, you could say. Yeah. And then my number 3 is the Buccaneers creamsicle jerseys. I think it looks sick. I think Baker Mayfield is the perfect epitome of wearing it. He said, we're going to look different. Also, I'm just a big Baker Mayfield fan. But those are my top 3. I mean, there's a lot of good other jerseys out there. Like the Blackout Steelers was hard not to put on there, just how sick it looks with the.
Still my.
I mean, black and gold. I love the color combo. I'm not a Steelers fan, but black and gold does look good.
Especially because I like your three. Oh, I like 2 of your 3 picks. I know that like they get a lot of love because it's so different, and like the old Bucks logo is cool.
Yeah.
But like those colors are just awful. Like, you can imagine
creamsicle.
You can imagine playing in like Tampa in September back in the day, like 100 something wearing those orange creamsicle jerseys. But for me, I would have to say, and we saw it this last weekend too in that same game. But I always like the Seahawks old blue jerseys. I think those look pretty sick with the old school gray helmets.
Yeah.
So I got two as my number 2. I'm going with my own team, but you took the words right out of my mouth. But I think that it's not really a throwback jersey, but alternative, like Color Rush. Because most of the time we play in prime time, so it's like all black black pants, like with the yellow. I think it looks slick. As well as this is why it's a tie with my own team, but the old Bumblebees, when they would wear the old Bumblebees, like they were so ugly at first, but I'm like now they've kind of grown on me, so I like the Steelers Bumblebees. And then the other one I'm also gonna like. I don't know. I'm picking 5, so I'm not trying to like try to be difficult. But my other one would be I'm taking 2 out of 3 years. But I like the old Broncos orange with the baby blue, and I also like the old Giants with the different blue with red and like the darker blue NY on there. I always like the ones that said Giants. Like I always thought those jerseys were pretty sick. So
So I don't know. I didn't know where you were going with that. I thought you were talking about people like that cropped out their own ones. I'm thinking like in the terms of Kelsey's brother's mom making a jersey that was like supporting. I thought that's where you. I thought that's where you're going. I said, well, how many of those could there possibly be out there? But I thought, we'd made a joke about having a Hopkins jersey from our family's last name with like when DeAndre Hopkins went to the Titans, and then with a Hopkins jersey with the Chiefs, supporting a couple teams that we have a close affinity with. I don't know. So totally out left field that I wasn't thinking along the same lines as you guys were, but I could tell you that something that I don't know if it was beautiful or hideous, but the Dolphins outfits last week were the ones that I went, what is this?
Yeah,
what do they have going on here? I'm not sure what this
I thought
color
they actually
scheme
were
is.
kinda- I thought
It
they
was
were
a little flashy, a little nightclub looking color combo scheme there.
It's the epitome of Miami, man.
Right.
Like,
But yeah, if there was one that stood out to me over the years that just you kind of laugh at, you appreciate maybe the absurdity, it would have been the Steelers Bumblebees. Would be one that I go, okay, that's pretty loud and crazy. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
one that I was obsessed with as a little kid that didn't make my list is the Miami Dolphins all orange uniforms. Only wore them a couple times. The Miami Dolphin orange ounce. I'm a Broncos fan, so I like the orange jerseys. But I was like, every time I played as the Dolphins, I used to love playing as Ryan Tannehill for some reason. And I'd always just run Dolphins orange out for no reason. But
your pops was a Dan Marino
yeah,
fan.
he loved Dan Marino. So we watched the Dolphins. But yeah, there's plenty of good jerseys out there. I feel like if the Bills ever win in their whiteout jersey, it'll be there.
That's sick.
It was a sick jersey.
As much as I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I do think their traditional like silver and white looks pretty slick with
Yeah.
the blue. Like, I mean, not necessarily be a Cowboys fan, but the Cowboys or even the Niners and some of their old school, especially when they had more like the maroon in the 90s, 2000s. Like
Yeah, the maroon, yeah.
More maroon ones with the gold helmet looks pretty slick. But I think the ones we're talking about are different level.
And then, like nowadays there's all kinds of, like this year they introduced like the rivals ones. So like the Seahawks are going to wear like a gray out at some point when they play San Francisco. And then like the Cardinals introduced last week or 2 weeks ago the tortilla jerseys.
Yeah.
Realized the desert, but they look like tortillas.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of good jerseys out there, but I feel like we had a good list there. But
Go Redskins.
you could bring that one out. But that's going to take us into our biggest offensive and defensive performers of the week. And this week there was a lot of good offensive performances out there. But I'll lead us off here. I'm going to do a two-parter, which is kind of cheating, but it's hard to pick between these two who had played a hell of a game each. I have Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield throws for 379 yards and 2 touchdowns, only takes 1 sack. He also rushes for another 15. And making clutch throw after clutch throw. He finished with 29 to 33, so a super high completion percentage across the board. And then to the Seahawks, Sam Darnold, 28 of 34 for 341 and 4 touchdowns with a late interception, which kind of cost him the game in general. But this game was a hell of a game if you watch. It kind of started slow in the first 2 quarters, and then the third quarter just picked right up. And it's crazy to think that the two guys we're talking about right now we're on the Carolina Panthers together 2 years ago now.
Right.
It's just the crazy how this happened across the board. But those are my offensive players of the week. I feel like they both deserved a good shout out there.
Yeah. My honorable mention this week, I wanted to put getting Stephon Diggs back for the Patriots. He was absolutely instrumental in the Patriots pulling out the upset, especially the last couple of drives for the Patriots and May's new security blanket. I think he finished with I'm not as prepared as you. I apologize, but 12 or 13 catches for $145.
Yeah.
All that being said, I have my first repeat winner of the year in Week 5, and that is Jonathan Taylor again. In a blowout win over the Raiders, Taylor had over 143 total yards on offense, about 60-some on the ground, 70 receiving, with 3 touchdowns again for the Colts. So Colts one bad half away, and a couple bonehead plays such as letting the ball go at the 1 yard line against the Rams from being 5-0. But Colts are the real deal. And actually, right now, for what it's worth, 5 weeks into the season, as the season ended today, they would actually be the 1 seed in the AFC. Would be the Colts. But yeah, my offensive performer of the week was Jonathan Taylor of the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, good running back. I saw they put up a stat out of like average yards per game. He's number 5 all time in NFL history if he retired today, and he's up there with I don't know, greats. I couldn't remember all the names because I remember who was on that list. But that'll take us into our defensive player of the week, and I'm gonna go with Broncos player that helped seal the game is Nick Bonito. 3 solo tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 2.5 sacks, which puts him at 7 total sacks for the season, which he leads the NFL in sacks right now. I enjoy watching his play because he can do they'll line him up on the edge like an edge rusher, and he'll drop back into pass coverage because he's athletic enough to do both. But leading the NFL in sacks, the Broncos lead the NFL in pressures as a team, which having him helps a lot. But Zach Allen and Jonathan Cooper on the outside definitely help with that too. So Nick Bonito is my defensive player of the week, who sagged Jalen Hurts on that last drive to try to win the game there. So it took some good time off the clock, so they gave him less time. So
yeah, my defensive player of the week comes in the Jacksonville-Kansas City game just because it's one of the biggest moments. Kansas City had a long drive, 11-play drive in the third quarter, tied at 14, get all the way down to the 1-yard line. A couple of big third down scrambles in place for the Chiefs, get down to the 1-yard line, and Devin Lloyd of the Jaguars, who as a linebacker now is tied for first in the NFL with 4 interceptions, had 2 a couple weeks ago, had a pick 6 yesterday for a 99-yard pick 6 to put the Jags up 21-14, and I just felt from that point on the Chiefs did score on the next drive, I said, but definitely put Jacksonville in the driver's seat and allowed that opportunity at the end of the game. So just for that reason, unless there's other good candidates this week, I said, but for that play, I pick Devin Lloyd.
Yeah, and Devin Lloyd, actually, it's notable to say he had 2 interceptions against San Francisco the week before. And I never jump in and get into these other segments, but just because I thought he played an outstanding game for Offensive Player of the Week, because we never give him any love. But Dak Prescott did come out and throw 4 touchdowns and have a QB rating of 127.4.
I did see that.
It was an entertaining game, and he played his heart out, and you get to see him in some moments of greatness where you go, if you're a Cowboys fan, you're sitting there going, your record doesn't speak to how well you're actually playing. Mm-hmm. So if you can stack up some wins in that column, the Cowboys are looking good. Dak's looking comfortable. He's actually stepping up in the pocket. He's making quicker decisions. He's getting the ball downfield. When there's not players open, he's making the commitment to get the game yardage on the ground. So shout out to Dak, since we never give the Cowboys any love.
yeah, for obvious reasons.
Well, that's a good point, though, because we're talking about ever since they played a competitive game against the Eagles to start off the season, we're talking 3 out of 4 weeks they laid an egg when CeeDee Lamb got hurt in week 3 against the Bears. But 3 out of 4 weeks, the Cowboys putting up well over 30 points. And I think over the last 2 or 3 weeks, again, another big reason for that is the involvement of George Pickens. That's a good call. That's a good take.
10 touchdowns on the year so far and only 3 picks. So
Number 2 in passing yards in the league. I mean,
Yeah.
quietly having a great year.
Yeah.
Speaking of not having a great year, is we're going to roll into some game recaps here. First one, Texans roll 44-10 against the Baltimore Ravens. C.J. Stroud throws for 4 touchdowns and 244 yards, 167 yards rushing, kind of by another committee. And, I mean, he threw it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different receivers during that game, so he's getting the ball around. So, and then Cooper Rush, 3 interceptions, 179 yards. Derrick Henry get held to 33 yards rushing. So, I mean, just an abysmal day for Baltimore, as not having your team captain, your pillar in your organization, you could say. And then the Texans getting their second win of the year against Baltimore is huge for them. I feel like it's a confidence booster, even though they're not all there. I feel like it's a huge confidence booster and putting them back in AFC South play, or at least, I mean, the Colts, I don't know if they're going to catch the Colts, but at least put them in that wild card of conversation towards the end of the year there.
Yeah. Well, and, I said, who would have thought at the beginning of the year that the Ravens, on I think everyone's short list of Super Bowl favorites, and granted Jackson getting hurt, 3/4 of the way through that Chiefs game, but that they'd be sitting there at 1-4. I had messaged a buddy on Friday that I just have a feeling the Texans might actually pull it off, but I was like, it was hard for me to imagine, even with the backup quarterback, them starting off 1-4. And so I wasn't 100% shocked to see the Ravens lose, but it was how they lost. Because you still have, in my eyes, a top 7, 8 coach in Harbaugh. You still have Derrick Henry. You still have Zay Flowers. And we've talked about, too, the last 2 or 3 weeks, like, even though the Texans started off 0-3, like, their defense, we talk about how aggressive, how good they looked, and how good they played against Baker Mayfield early in the year. So just staying the course, and C.J. Stroud started to pick some things up the last couple of weeks. So the Texans could be one of those teams that if they get hot, next thing you look, and they said now they're sitting there 2-3. But one of the other main points I want to bring out is, like, even if Baltimore brings it around, if they get too far in a hole and they're fighting for that playoff spot, and again that turns into, it's a Week 5 game, Jackson didn't play, everyone kind of snoozes it off, but a potential tiebreaker. We think of Houston probably not catching the Colts, and the Ravens being this much in a hole. I still think the Ravens will catch hot, but it is because I'm optimistic or cautiously optimistic about my Steelers. But that could be a game that Houston, like you said, hangs their head on. It's a good confidence builder, backup quarterback or not. Still came into a hostile environment. C.J. Stroud, their defense still looked really good, and that could be a tiebreaker later in the end of the year. So Baltimore, we're going to see whether Jackson plays or not. We're going to see what they're made of with the tough test coming up this week. But I was happy to see the Texans just because I feel like 2 of their 3 losses, they really had, like, their defense played their hearts out, and they completely shut down. It was pretty predictable, but they said, well, Derrick Henry's not going to beat us, so we'll have Cooper Rush, and he didn't do anything. So, yeah, that was crazy.
Rolling into our only time this year that we're going to talk about the Saints getting the win over the New York Giants. I feel like when the Saints, the only next time we'll talk about the Saints, we're going to be talking about who's going to have the number 1 draft pick.
Right.
But the Saints get the dub over the New York Giants 26-14, taking them to 1-4 and knocking the New York Giants to 1-4. Spencer Rattler, 1 touchdown, 225 yards. Besides that, their stats are not really that impressive. And they got the win, though, so that's the only stat that really matters at the end of the day. Jackson Dart throwing for 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 202 yards with another 55 on the ground. Scabby Dooby Doo did not get in the end zone this week with 59 rushing yards in total. Almost broke that 60 mark. But, this game, I don't know if anybody watched this game. I didn't even watch the highlights for this game. But I just wanted to bring up, for all the Saints fans who listen to this, which I don't know if there's many out there. I don't know if Houday Nation's out there listening to us, but they got the win, so good. Shout out to them. I think the Giants are going to bounce back. I think they have a good core element of guys there with Dart and Scabadoo, and when Neighbors gets back, probably not this year, but next year, I think they have a good core of guys that might be able to get it done. But shout out the Saints getting the win. I don't know if there's really much to say about that.
Yeah,
it's a good.
Who Dat Nation. But no, that's a good win for them, just for the fact of they have been a lot more competitive than what people probably realize. So on that side of things, like, they were in control. They said Spencer Rattler didn't have anything like where the statistics were like eye-popping, but they were in control of that almost the entire game and up by 2 scores for most of it, which leads us to the Giants. You have a close game you lose against the Cowboys. You have a close one against the Chiefs. And so, like, they played a lot better than getting a huge win last week against the Chargers. So even with a rookie quarterback, I expected them to take care of business. Of course, you're going to have some of those lumps as a rookie. And now that, the Saints came in, we've talked about this before too, where it's like the Saints are either like really young guys to build around or guys at the end of their career like Jordan, and who's had a great career in Cam Jordan. Yeah. But it's like, I don't really know what else to say.
This is just honorable mention here.
Yeah.
No, rolling into a game that was definitely more interesting to watch, I'm guessing. I definitely watched this game. Is San Francisco 49ers getting the win over the LA Rams 26-23 in overtime. Mac Jones slinging the rock out there for 342 yards and 2 touchdowns, with CMC getting 57 on the ground, another 82 and a tutty through the air. Kind of a fun stat here is the Niners are 4-1, and they have yet to score a rushing touchdown this season.
Yeah.
They've been slinging the rock through the air, getting touchdowns. But Matthew Stafford had a hell of a game himself. Is 389 yards and 3 touchdowns, with Devontae Adams catching 88 and Puka Nacua 85 yards and 1 touchdown. So this game was a hell of a game to watch. It was a good back and forth in the NFC West. We talked about at the beginning of the year, like the NFC West is going to be competitive. They're going to win and lose to each other, and it's whoever can, I guess, get those tiebreakers with those other teams they play. But Mac Jones coming out and slinging, I think, definitely just earned himself if they don't decide he's the guy and get rid of Brock Purdy, they decided that Mac Jones deserves a chance for a starting spot, or at least a starting QB battle next offseason. So, I mean, it was a great game to watch. Goes into overtime. Kyle Shanahan gets it done, gets the win over the LA Rams, who I still think make the playoffs because I believe in that amazing passing game they have.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like we just talked about last week about how my preseason pick was the Niners to win that division. And then I changed it out for the Rams. I said the Rams definitely had plenty of opportunities to win that game. Kudos to the Niners and Mac Jones after the last 2 or 3 weeks, just kind of putting up middle-of-the-pack numbers or inconsistent, where, like you said, Mac Jones had a great game. If you're a Rams fan, another week, another conversation about block kicks. So, Rams got a kick blocked again, a punt blocked, led to points for the Niners. And then at the end of the game, it's I believe it was what was the final score? 26-23.
Yeah.
So it was 23-20, and the Rams have a long drive, getting ready to score with under the 2-minute warning, and they fumble at the 4-yard line, the 3-yard line. Then they call the timeouts and hold the Niners at the 1-yard line, and get the ball back with 10 seconds and make a crazy long field goal, like we've seen so many times this year. So, but between the block kick and the fumble at the 1-yard line when they're getting ready to answer San Francisco and then tie that game to go into overtime when it didn't look like there was going to be enough time on the clock even for the field goal, and then the Niners still win that. What a disappointing loss. And it's obviously they have to play each other again one more time this year, and like I said, that could decide the division. And now you get the Niners got that road win in L.A. So
it's huge.
Huge win for the Niners. Like I said, I think both of them will be just fine. They'll be battling neck and neck. But Puka had his catches. Stafford had a good game. Adams continues to shine the last 3 weeks. So like their passing game, I'd like to see more of a consistent run game from them. That is really crazy about the Niners having a pretty decent 1-2 combo and having McCaffrey and don't have a rushing touchdown yet.
I mean, I think with all the injuries they have to the offense or the wide receivers, I think he has the most receiving touchdowns as well. So, I mean, he still has that dual threat ability like he had in Carolina and they had when they went to the Super Bowl. But
he put up 28 points for me in fantasy this week, so
I
he's
mean,
all right. But he just getting little dumps out of the backfield and being able to.
It's that Shanahan offense, man.
Yep.
That's going to take us into our last week's Twitch and Bucks game of the week, which turned out to be an absolute barn burner. We already talked about it. I broke down the quarterback stats, but Tampa Bay getting the win off a last-second field goal, 38-35, again over Seattle. But I already talked about it. But 379, but 29 for 33 is the big stat there. I mean, that means what's 20? I don't know what the percentage is there, but it's an outrageous QB percentage there. And then only giving up 1 sack and a 90.7 QBR. The thing that surprised me here is only having 41 rushing yards, but getting 2 touchdowns off of it. So, I mean, they were slinging the rock to get down in there. And another bright spot is Emike Mbuka. I don't feel bad because Gronk's not the smartest person in the world, but he struggled on Fox saying it too. But 163 and another touchdown with a 57-yard long touchdown. He did run through the end zone this week, so instead of slowing up early like he did last week, so my Twitch is no longer twitching from last week. But, I mean, Tampa, and then the Seahawks not to be outdone with Jackson Smith and Njigba for 132 and another touchdown, and then Kenneth Walker being explosive for 86 yards, and then Zach Charbonnet stealing his another touchdown with only 36 yards. But I mean, just heck of a game across the board. A good NFC matchup there. I could see this matchup happening again in the playoffs and it being another crazy game across the board. But I just enjoyed watching this game. Baker Mayfield's all four wins of the Bucs this season have been off last second drives, and obviously he was 5 seconds away from getting it against the Eagles too. So I mean, Baker clutch factor is 100% on this year.
Yeah, I think good things to take from both teams. I said it definitely felt like it was a playoff game. It did feel like it was a playoff game. And so Finn and I actually watched a good chunk of that game as well on Sunday, and it definitely delivered. Start off, back and forth, 6-0 Bucks, and then the Seahawks scored, and then it was 17-13. And like I said, next thing you know, they're both in the 30s. But, I mean, to me, the thing that stands out the most was there's a reason why the last 2+ years now, Baker Mayfield has the most comeback wins. Like you said, four wins this year for the Bucs and 4 comeback behind victories. And for those who didn't watch the game, you look at a big third down conversion and the touchdown to tie the game initially were absolute darts by Baker Mayfield. So just continued, like I said, I know last week he had kind of a rough first half against the Eagles and they just kind of ran out of time. But Baker Mayfield is a very good Seattle team who I have making the playoffs as well. Getting that win on the road, that's a solid win for the Bucs, and Baker Mayfield adding to his. I mean, I don't know other than Daniel Jones, to be honest with you, and you have Josh Allen because him and Patrick are considered like the best players and quarterbacks. But like Baker Mayfield, to me, I don't know how you can argue with where the Bucs are and having what he means to that team. Making a case for who's more valuable than Baker Mayfield to what he means to that team.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, for the Seahawks, they threw a pick late in the fourth overtime. No, fourth quarter. It was the fourth quarter. Seattle almost midfield, and Darnold makes a bad pass. But other than that, Seattle has looked pretty solid the last 4 weeks. I think they'll be just fine. And like I said, I like the balance that I saw from Seattle. And like I said, I've always been pretty high on Kenneth Walker, but then also getting the wide receivers and getting Cooper Kupp the ball and like that defense and the pressure. I know it's not going to show because the Bucs put up 38 points. I said, but like they got consistent pressure. But again, that was just Baker Mayfield making some good plays on his feet. So yeah, that was. I feel like that game was definitely one of the games of the week, and it lived up to the game of the week, especially for the Sunday afternoon slot, like noon. Noon to 3. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this week was a lot of good games, like you said, a lot of good upsets. A couple scores here, we don't have to really break it down, but a couple scores here that interested me, at least when I saw them, is the Commanders beating the Chargers 27-10. I mean, Chargers look like a completely different team we haven't seen before. The Cowboys getting a good solid win, like Greg talked about, with the 37-22 win over the Jets. The Colts rolled. The Titans won in a crazy way. And then the game that was kind of sealed it off was the 23-20 win. The Patriots getting it done against the Bills. But I mean, a crazy week across the board, a lot of upsets, a lot of scores I didn't necessarily see coming. But that's the NFL. There's parity every year, and we're seeing it really big time this year. I mean, somebody said it earlier, but the Colts would be the number 1 seed right now if the playoffs started. And I sure didn't. I thought them maybe a playoff team, maybe. Yeah. But being the number 1 seed rolling into obviously there's a lot of season left to play. But, yeah. This NFL season's been fun to watch across the board.
Well, which goes back to why the obvious choice on the short list is Daniel Jones for MVP and comeback player of the year. The game that stood out to me, like besides the ones we just talked about, I said, like the Patriots and the Bills, a divisional game, you can kind of know each other. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence showing up on Sunday and getting the upset against the Chiefs after I thought the Chiefs had figured it out last week against Baltimore and getting Xavier Worthy back. But kind of the one that not a lot of, Colts took care of business. Cowboys look good again. But one that I don't feel like the last couple of weeks that a lot of people are talking about just because they're not playing quality competition, but they're doing what you're supposed to do, and that's the Lions. This is the 4th straight week that they put up over 30-some points, 37 points, 4 weeks in a row. So, and that game wasn't even as close as what the final score. Cincinnati had a couple late touchdowns after the lead was already so big. I said, but And the other thing talking about, you kind of mentioned it earlier, to take from the games was also the Commanders Chargers, just because I did have the Commanders going at least to the second round of the playoffs, and like I am a big Jaden Daniels believer, but I didn't know how he would respond. I wasn't shocked. Same there, because I wanted to see if Daniels would play, and then if it would. I didn't know if it would take him a week or two to readjust. But it was another one of those games like, in the last several weeks, with whatever it's been, 80-90% of them coming down to the score, like that not being one of them that was even close. Like that, the Commanders completely dominated them. When the Chargers, through the first 3 weeks, kind of like the Packers, the first 2 weeks looked like the real deal, and then just came out at home and they looked flat. I'll just be honest. Like the Chargers just looked completely flat. I don't know how much that has to do, because you still have Herbert, you still have Allen, you still got plenty of other playmakers. Like your main part of the team's not, but a big piece is that Hampton.
Yeah,
so he's looked good.
Your top 2 running backs are down.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
But yeah, those are the things that stood out to me as far as the games this week.
All right, well, that wraps up our Week 5 recap there. We're going to roll into our Week 6 picks here and our Week 6 preview across the board coming up next.
All right, so let's roll into our Week 6 picks. We'll start off with Thursday Night Football. We have the Eagles going out to the Giants. Box, where you at with this one?
I got the Eagles in this one. I mean, I thought about the Giants for a second coming back off a loss, and the Eagles also coming off a loss. But I think the Eagles are still the better team here, and I think, like I said, I think the Giants have some growing room, or have some things to grow on before they can compete with a top NFC contender like this. So I got the Eagles in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Eagles as well. It's one of those things where divisional games always come down to the wire. Two teams, one of the older rivalries in the NFL, and the Giants for the most part, up until they played the juggernaut that is the Saints last week. I've been really competitive, and I like what I've seen even in the loss with from Jackson Dart. But the Eagles are on another tier. I still think they're a Super Bowl contender. You're going to have off weeks. And kudos to your Broncos. They have a good team. It's a playoff caliber team, a great defense. They only the Eagles only gave Saquon Barkley the ball 6 times last week. I bet that gets rectified this week. And just coming off a loss on a short week, I think they take their frustrations out on the Giants.
So, nice. Going back across the pond to 8:30 in the morning, we got a London game once again. We got my boys Broncos. And that's a away game for the Jets.
Yeah.
I know my son's over there in London. He's definitely excited about this opportunity, coming off a big high with that Broncos win over the Eagles. So can't wait to hear how his experience is over there in London. But what's your take on this one?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm more nervous about this game than I was the last game, because I knew the last game, if the Broncos came out and played in our defense, played good, solid, sound football like we know we've been shown to have, I knew we could come out and at least be in the game. We ended up winning. But this, it's over the pond. The Jets have looked hot and cold together. But I still have my Broncos winning this one. I think our pass rush gets it done. Justin Fields is a little bit more of a mobile quarterback. But I also think that we have a great hybrid pass rusher, who I took as my defensive player of the week, and Nick Bonito, leading the NFL in 7 sacks, who can cover the pass, and he's an agile pass rusher. I think he can get it done. So I take the Broncos getting it done across the pond in London, 8:30 in the morning.
All right.
Yeah, on this one I have the Broncos as well. The Broncos have a real opportunity with the Jets and Giants and Jets, Giants, and somebody coming up for their next 3 opponents. But 3 games where last time I looked, Denver will be heavily favored, so a chance for them to stack wins. Sitting atop of the AFC West now at 3-2, and with the big win over the Eagles against a Jets team that's still looking for their first win. I know that they've been competitive for most of their games this year, and like I said, I like Justin Fields, but Denver's got a really, really good defense. So I like them to keep the Jets within the 20 or low range. And then just Bo Nix, I felt like the last couple of weeks, Denver had a hard time scoring points in the first half against the Eagles, but that comeback and how they played the second half and that enthusiasm to go with how Nix had played. He played great against the Colts, or he played great against, the Chargers for one half. And so we wanted to see a whole game. Well, then he did that against Cincinnati. And so like I like Bo Nix to be able to expose that Jets defense and the Broncos defense to be able to hold Justin Fields below that 20 mark. And so I like the Broncos to get the win here, and we get the win there in London.
Yeah. I did send a text out to the Twitch and Box group chat there last week when the Jets were playing the Cowboys. I said, so much for that poor man's Lamar Jackson. Justin Fields came out there and was scrambling. Well, it looked good. So both of you taking the Broncos.
Yeah.
So yeah, he is that guy. All right, so Sunday noon, first game of the week, we got the Browns at the Steelers. So
the hater in me wanted to take the Browns here just to go against the Twitch, but I'm taking the Steelers in this one. I think the Steelers get it done against a good better than their record shows Browns team. Dylan Gabriel is going to be starting the game, and he showed flashes last week that he can be an NFL quarterback. His height kind of seems to be bugging him more than we assumed, or than I assumed it would. But I think the Steelers get it done. The Steelers coming off a bye week. I mean, rested up, which, I mean, early bye weeks kind of suck, but also I feel like it's pivotal that from this point, like, they got to go, because we've seen the drop-off in the past, which I'm guessing we'll get into later when we do state of, but I have the Steelers getting this one done in the dog pound. Or it's at Heinz Field or Azura Field or whatever it's pronounced.
Yeah, well, I am sticking with my team this week. Thank you very much. So, coming off a bye week, for all the up and down of the NFL, for your team being on a bye, my team being on a bye last week, it was nice. The next best thing for all the other three teams to lose in the division. So, to me, for Pittsburgh, first, my take on the game, having Joey Porter most likely back as the other 1A, 1B cornerback changes our defense. Statistically, you look at the last 25, 30 years, going back to even Cower, on what our record is against rookie quarterbacks or guys that haven't seen our supposed zone concepts. So we typically have success against young quarterbacks. I think it'll be a lot closer than what people think, just because it's a divisional game and Cleveland's defense is for real, and I'm still not 100% sold on our offense. I'll be interested to see how. Well, I don't want to get too much in detail because we'll talk about that in the state of the Steelers. But Jaylen Warren coming back and being one of the only consistent offensive pieces through 3 weeks, and then not playing in that, not playing in the game overseas, and having the backup running back rush for about 100 yards, had about 140 total yards. So I'll be interested to see how they try to incorporate that 1-2 punch. But having a lot of guys back and then just having a young quarterback, I don't feel like our offense is going to jump off the page or we'll blow out the Browns. But I'm comfortable enough to win, or at least get the win at home. I'm going to have faith in my team. I like the Steelers at home beating the Browns.
Here we go. There you go. Nice. Chargers at Fins.
I have the Chargers in this one. I think the Chargers coming off a 2-game slide here against a not good team, and then a good playoff team last year, made it to the NFC Championship. I have them winning this game. I think Mike McDaniel's on the hot seat now. I think he was on the hot seat before, but if he slips another game, I feel like he becomes a candidate for one of the first coaches fired this season. So.
Well, that was your take in our preseason conversations of who's on that bubble before the season even starts, and you said McDaniels is that conversation. So, what about you, Twitch?
So far we're 4 for 4 in the same picks, but I don't trust that Miami offense. I said I know they had a back and forth game against the Panthers, and they looked better against the Bills, and then 2 weeks ago they got a win. But the Chargers the last 2 weeks have really struggled on offense. But I said I'm a believer in Justin Herbert, and I just feel like the Chargers coming off that 2-game losing streak after how they started the year. I think that they're balanced enough, a lot more balanced than what Miami is, and I think the Chargers get the win, get back on the winning track. They've obviously led a huge opportunity, starting off 3-0, and some of the other losses. The Broncos and Chiefs started off 1-2, to where now they had the tiebreaker early for whatever it's worth. I said, but now the Broncos are sitting there, the Chiefs are breathing down their neck. They know they need this game when they're in the driver's seat, and with the Fins, I just. No Tyreek Hill still. I mean, obviously he's done for the year, so it's just I don't trust their offense. I like the Chargers to get it done.
Hope the Fins get this one. So there's my upset pick. All right, so are the Saints going to double up because the next noon game is the New England Patriots at the Saints.
This game, it's a harder game than I thought it was going to be picking. I thought I was going to let the Patriots roll all day. But if the Saints get the win, you got to think there's some kind of momentum there. Taysom Hill comes back last week off an injury, which last year I said I don't think he was going to come back and play at all ever again just because of his age. But they got the dub. But I have the Patriots getting this one done out there, down there in New Orleans. I think the Patriots get it done. The Patriots are a good, better than expected football team at this point in the season. Their running back situation is definitely an interesting one with Trevon Henderson having a great preseason and then having a great week 1 and week 2 and then unheard of after Stevenson fumbles the ball on Sunday Night Football. So I don't know if there's some behind-the-scenes work going on there that, us public doesn't know, because we know Mike Vrabel likes to keep everything close to the organization, close beyond the doors, but I like the Patriots getting this one done against the Saints.
I promise I'm not just copying your picks. I'm going with the Patriots just because winners are 2 straight. That was a huge win. I know they're on the road again this week, and again, great for New Orleans to get that win last week and had it, controlled it from the kickoff against the Giants. But I do believe in Mike Vrabel, and I believe in the things that May's been doing all season long. Has quietly had a pretty solid year, and now building that chemistry with Diggs now back in the lineup. I just don't feel like the Saints will be able to keep up with the Patriots' offense. Not that the Patriots have like this world breaker offense, but on the flip side of that, like Mike Vrabel being a defensive minded coach, I like for him to have his guys focused and take care of business in New Orleans. And I'm a believer in May and Diggs continuing their chemistry from last week over the Saints.
All right. Well, a lot of talk about what the status is here with Lamar Jackson. So this is probably a big question mark here. But we have the Rams at the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm going to let Twitch lead off on this one. Twitch was having a debate with himself earlier about this one.
Well, they told me, and rightfully so, I will say rightfully so, the talk was like, well, what happens you should have to stick with your pick. And so because I was saying, well, if Lamar Jackson plays, which I have a hard time believing he won't play, I have a hard time seeing them go to 1-5, and just because of his normal record against NFC teams. But because I ultimately settled because of how bad they looked last week, if in case he doesn't play, I pick the Rams. Or even if he does, the Ravens' defense has not played good yet a game this year, period. And so I think even if Lamar Jackson does play, the Rams have a really, really good defense. That's what they've been known for the last 2 years. And so, I'm going to go with Stafford in a battle of better defenses, which is crazy to say, even over a team like the Ravens. But yeah. I like Stafford to get the job done against the Ravens. And if we're both right about that, I'm sorry to repeat myself, 1-5 for the Ravens. I don't know if it's season over yet, but definitely must-win time in Baltimore.
Yeah, I like the Rams in this one too. I think the Rams' offense is one of the hottest offenses in the league right now with their passing game. I'd like to see their run game with Kyren Williams get moving a little bit more, so take some pressure off of Stafford and avoid some of those QB hurries and hits when they know they can pin their ears back and go get it. But the Devontae Adams Puka Nacua combo is yet to disappoint this year, even in their loss. They both had over 50 yards. Puka had a touchdown. So I have the Rams in this one. I think the Rams keep rolling.
So still got some more noon games. We got the Cards at the Colts. Colts been hot, so.
Yeah, I like the Colts in this one. Colts came out last week, and they were down. When I say down early, Las Vegas Raiders had the balls first, and they kicked a field goal first, so they were down early. But then they came out and just utterly dominated the Raiders last week. I like the Colts in this one again. The Raiders' defense is not known for. Max Crosby's still playing; he's still a good edge rusher, but I like. Jonathan Taylor's. You have to take away their run game because they live off the play action pass. So I like the Colts getting this one done. I think Jonathan Taylor rolls again against another subpar team.
Yeah, so now we're 7 for 7. But I got the Colts. I said the Colts have looked like the real deal. There are a couple penalties and a bad play, a bad quarter against the Rams from being 5-0. I don't feel that the Cards had the defense to stop Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor in that running game. So very balanced offensive. The Colts And hide and watch. These are the games last week and the last couple, like, especially last week, that you just look. You have teams like the Falcons and Commanders that are so up and down from week to week. You're like, oh, they lose by 30, but then they beat this pretty good. So watch that be the game that the Cardinals come out and Kyler Murray looks like it. So, but I like it's in Indy, and I think there's the same thing. I don't feel like even with Marvin Harrison Jr. and the Cardinals, I don't feel like it's
Well, here's where we might mix it up a little bit. We'll see here. We got the 3-2 Seahawks going out and playing the 4-1 Jacksonville Jaguars. What's your thoughts here?
This is gonna be a great game. It's our game of the week for obvious reasons. I feel like it's gonna be another barn burner. Jacksonville gets a crazy Monday Night Football dub over the Chiefs. Trevor Lawrence falls down twice on the same play. Like, he falls, stumbles getting up, falls again, and like you said, walks into the end zone. Then the Seahawks lose to arguably this is kind of far out there because I don't know all NFL history, but arguably the greatest clutch quarterback of my generation, at least that I've watched play, going out there and Baker Mayfield just clutching up wins left and right. Not Sam Brown, but I'm going to take – I like the Jags in this one. I think the Jags roll at home. Their offense has been enough to get it done, and that defense is back to almost like 2016 Jacksonville defense when they went to the AFC Championship with Blake Bortles. And I think Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Bortles. Knock on wood. But I like Jacksonville in this one. But I could also see Seattle coming out and just slinging the rock and Kenneth Walker running all over them.
Devin Lloyd going to have another pick this week?
Yeah, I'm putting it in a parlay. He's had one. It's on a hot streak. Might as well.
There you go.
Well, and we've talked, like I said, the last few weeks about the Jags just being one of those sleeper teams. Well, from the beginning of the year. So it's how their one loss was against A.J. Browning coming in over before halftime even.
Yeah.
With the Bengals, I don't know, but the Jags definitely showed me that the real deal. That defense is legit. On top of, you saw the two-way athlete in Travis Hunter and the chemistry that making a couple of really great catches yesterday. I helped Trevor Lawrence out, so I like the leadership that I saw, and everybody kind of sleeping on Jacksonville. That being said, I think this will be a close game. Like I say, it's a game of the week for a reason. But I like the balance, and I like Seattle to not make some of the same mistakes. And I just think those are two solid, playoff contenders. But I like the way Sam Darnold's playing. Take away a mistake there and a mistake against the Niners in the fourth quarter. They could be sitting there at 5-0. But I like the running game against Jacksonville for Walker and the Seahawks. And I'm gonna losing a close game last week. I like the Seahawks to bounce back and get to 4-2, knock both teams to 4-2.
Well, last noon game, we got the 2-1 Cowboys at the Panthers, who's really 2-3. So.
But the Panthers, like we talked about, are one of those teams that got really beat the Falcons 30-0 at home, and then roll out the next week, and the Patriots just smack them.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily. I'm definitely not going to be watching this game, but purely out of the Cowboys' offensive play, coming out of Dak Prescott slinging the rock down the field, Javonte Williams is playing good. I think the Cowboys can out-offense the Panthers in this game and get it done. Them boys.
Yeah, I've got the Cowboys winning this game as well. They've looked pretty solid for about the last month. I like the offense too, and the level that Dak Prescott's playing at. Of course, you want to see them get a little more if you're a Dallas fan, more of the running game be more consistent. But I don't trust the offense. Like, Bryce Young has looked pretty good. I feel like Dallas has gained some good momentum. It's in at 2-1, playing really well on the offensive side of the ball, and this is a game that they should win. That's another one that they're a little bit. Carolina's definitely shown some good things too the last 3 weeks. A lot of young players. But I feel like Dallas has more of a veteran leadership, and they are the better team. And I like for them to take care of business. Like, Carolina's one of those teams that already has snuck up on some people this year. But I feel like Dallas gets the win here.
Well, that takes care of our noon games. Our first 3:05 game, we have Callahan and the Titans playing in LA against the Raiders. So
Vegas, baby.
yeah, Vegas.
I feel like I don't know, man. I feel like this is one of those games that could go either way not for a good reason. It's whoever's offense. If Geno Smith comes out and throws 2 interceptions again, the Titans might win.
Yeah.
I mean, Geno Smith has been nothing but an interception machine this year. Genty last week gets stuff held under 50 yards after his breakout week we talked about last week he had. So I'm going to take the Titans to, I guess, quote, upset. I'm guessing the Raiders are plus money in this one. Or minus, I'm guessing the Raiders are the favorite, but I'm going to take the Titans getting it done on this one. Just because, I mean, it's the NFL and throwing interceptions is not ways to win games. And, I mean, the Titans played the Broncos close week 1, and I haven't seen any highlights since except for the fumble recovery touchdown that they had this last week. So
Yeah.
Still call them LA. It is Vegas.
Yeah, it's
So,
Vegas.
it's a hard thing to get used to.
Right.
What you take, Twitch?
I guess I could see this game going either way for the reasons you just mentioned, and some really good things out of Ward. Tennessee's been in 4 out of 5 of their games. I just don't think they have enough talent, enough pieces, enough experience yet. Not that the Raiders, like you said, have looked like world beaters either. Giving up 40-some points to the Commanders and giving up points to the Colts. Like, the Colts are a really, really good team. Not a lot to be excited if you're a Raiders fan. That being said, and especially their defense, after Max Crosby, I feel like losing Robert Spillane in the middle really hurt them a lot.
Yeah, I think he was a bigger piece than they thought he was.
Right. But the game being in Vegas and with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, 2 guys that know how to win against a team a winnable game, I feel like this is one of those games that they get. I mean, they're not going to be making a playoff push, but I like for them to take care of business at home. I can see the game going either way. One thing I do want to say, though, is I saw a report that said that they are obviously going to stick with Geno Smith, but there had been some talk about whether now Kenny Pickett's now with the Raiders. So I'm like,
hey, man.
I'm kind of hoping like he gets another shot.
I'm a Kenny fan. I mean,
yeah, I just never, not just because he's a Steeler former quarterback, but I never felt like he got a fair shot. Then you go back to Philadelphia and you're backing up Jalen Hurts.
yeah, that's a Super Bowl winning quarterback you're talking about right there.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a Kenny Pickett stitched black with the yellow font
You
Steeler
really?
jersey. Yeah,
That's sick.
yeah. But anyway,
Kenny Two Gloves.
I got the Raiders winning at home.
All right, rolling into 325, we got the Niners at the Bucks. A hot Baker Mayfield
Yeah, with
and a questionable. Where are we at with this rushing offense of the Niners?
yeah. And where are we at with the status of Brock Purdy? I mean, there was reports last week that Brock Purdy could have came back and played last week, but they said, hey, take another week. We'll let Mac run it, and then Mac comes out and throws for 300 plus. I mean, I feel like this kind of causes a QB controversy in the 49ers, which it seems like every 2 or 3 years we have a QB controversy up there. When you think about Jimmy Garoppolo and all that, and then the Trey Lance debacle gets hurt, and they start their 7th-round draft pick, Mr. Irrelevant,
Yeah.
and he comes out and plays great as well, and then signed Mac Jones, who's a former first-round pick, to the Patriots over there, and now
Former national champion.
national champion of Bama. I mean, guy has a winning pedigree, you could say. And so I'm gonna take. I mean, I can't go against my boy Baker though. Is at the end of the day, no matter how good the 49ers are running, Baker's 4th quarter clutch ability to come back with that Niners defense, who still has Fred Warner and has some good pieces, but without that edge rush and Nick Bosa, I like my boy Baker getting it done. And I'll even be bold and say they win it in the 4th quarter again, just because that seems to be their style of play so far this year.
Right. Yeah, I've got the Bucks taking care of business at home. They just look like one of those top 5 or 6 teams, and Baker again playing at that MVP level and the way closing out games. And Mac Jones. That's a good point as far as if there's going to be a quarterback controversy, because if he comes out and plays a really good game against a really good Super Bowl contender Bucks team, then you really have to question, because like I was a Brock Purdy believer. He was hurt last year, so I'm like, you can sit there and say all you want with certain quarterbacks, like, oh, they had this defensive piece, they had McCaffrey, which is true, but Purdy had them right in the thick of it against the Chiefs to win a Super Bowl. So it's like I'm still not giving up on Purdy, but at the same time, is it Shanahan's? We talked about this too. Is it Shanahan's offense?
Shanahan offense.
And if Mac Jones comes out, even if they lose and has another almost 400-yard game, then you really have to stop and look at it. Like, do we just keep rolling with Mac Jones?
Yeah.
So, and to your point, that might be a big motivating factor for like Mac Jones, knowing that like this is my job audition right here. So to get the best out of him. That being said, I still like the Bucs at home. Yeah, it's just like you said, clutch Baker.
Yeah.
Although that was interesting, we mentioned but talking about all-time clutch in your generation, like you can't hardly go against Tom Brady and.
Yeah, I mean.
But in today's
today's
NFL, yeah, especially since he's been in Tampa.
with guys my age playing in the NFL currently, I feel like he's my clutch guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Side note, one thing we didn't talk about too is like I don't know if anybody didn't watch the clip, but one thing I did like about Baker last week.
Talking crap.
Talking
You come
smack
out of
to the
halftime
Seahawks
and they were
fan.
talking crap.
They were did you see that? Those fans talking shit, and Baker was giving it right back to him. So guess who we found right after the game when
And he said,
right back to him.
he said, I'll come see you after the game. And then he rolls out there. He said, you like that? You guys feeling good? Rolling
Yeah.
back to the locker room. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen that Baker at Oklahoma against KU is most memorable for me. Just, okay, you're not going to shake my hand. Hold this then. And then
Right.
does what he does. Heisman winner Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
So that other 325 game this weekend is the Bengals at the Pack. So we have to get Finn in here at some point. I know he's got a whole list of picks over there. We haven't weighed in on any of his takes, so I can see what Twitch and Box wrote down there for their picks. So we'll let them start off and let Finn to come in there and give his 2 cents on this.
I feel like the Joe Flacco X Factor is going to take a week to enable itself, and I think the Packers get the dub here. I mean, the addition of Joe Flacco I think is going to help because he's a good quarterback, like we talked about, who can get the ball to playmakers. He's not a world beater. He's not going to have any crazy stat. I mean, he might have crazy stats because he's going to throw the ball 40 times a game, but he's not going to do anything special with his legs or anything. But he's going to get the ball to your playmakers, which it seems like is the Bengals' MO right now. Is we need to get our high value wide receivers involved in these games.
Yeah, this Packers all the way.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. The Packers coming off a bye. They definitely had their chances to be 3-1 after the bye, and their chances against Dallas. But I look for them to get some pieces back on defense this week, and it's in Green Bay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think this game will be as close. I think that, like you said, Joe Flacco will be a step up from A.J. Browning just for his veteran leadership. But with the Packers defense and what we saw those first 2 weeks, we haven't seen in almost a month now with the bye and the 2 weeks prior to that. So it's been almost a month. I like for that Packers defense to make their appearance against. That's why they're in the situation they're in. A.J. Browning and then Joe Burrow, they don't have a great offensive line protecting their quarterback. And I like Micah Parsons in that defense to just tee off on Cincinnati and get the win at home.
Mr. Bengals fan over there.
And their defense too, like Green Bay even in the tie to Dallas, is a bit like figuring out right before getting both wide receivers, Golden and Doob or whatever. Getting both guys involved and their tight end, and you still got Josh Jacobs to balance. I don't see Cincinnati's defense being able to stop him either.
But Mr. Bengals fan over there, what's your take on this game here?
Go ahead. I will point out real quick, we got Finn over here, that 9 years old, 7-1. So by percentages, he's got he's lead.
He has the best winning percentage.
Yeah, I'll pick him. So anyway, go ahead, Finn. Sorry, buddy.
I'm gonna go with the Packers because it is gonna take a couple weeks for Joe Flacco to get good with the Bengals and with Micah Parsons in that defense. And they don't have much. They're not using the run game, so I'm just gonna take the Packers.
A realistic Bengals fan there. What would take?
I'm sure your mom will be happy.
So that's it for our afternoon games. Here's one that I think a lot of people are going to be tuning into on Sunday night. We have the Lions at Arrowhead playing the Chiefs. Chiefs got a lot to answer for, and they got a tough schedule coming up.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
what's your take? We'll start off with you there, Twitch. What do you see out of this game?
I like this game to go down to the wire. So we've kind of been all over the Lions lately. Said I'm a firm believer, and I mean, I said 4 straight weeks have put up 35 or whatever it's been, 37 points at least every week, 52, 37, 37. Detroit obviously presents a real challenge for Kansas City. This is one of the tougher games Kansas City has left. That being said, so my first take was to take the Lions. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs because they figured it out 2 weeks ago. I know they had their struggles, they had their mistakes, but they definitely had their opportunities last night against Jacksonville. And I feel like this will be like one of those Baltimore games where it's a statement game, and I feel like the Chiefs somehow find a way to win. And so, like I said, at first I want to take the Lions because they've been the more explosive team, the more overall balanced, consistent team. But I said, Patrick Mahomes, I said, yeah, they lost yesterday. It was a heartbreaker. I said, but they had their opportunities. I feel like they started to figure it out over the last couple of weeks. They said they were still moving the ball all day yesterday, all night last night. So Kansas City at home, they haven't really been the same dominant team this year, obviously, or even with their win-loss record last year, winning a lot of close games. Whereas these games where it's marquee versus marquee matchup, Kansas City used to dominate, and so I like for them to. It won't be the same. I don't see it being the same way as how they beat Baltimore. Like it'll be a close game down to the wire. Now, I'll remind you, a couple years ago, Detroit came in to start off the year after one of the Super Bowls, and Detroit won in Kansas City. So Detroit showed me everything in that game against Baltimore and Buffalo. Not Buffalo, but.
Yeah.
But they showed me that they're not afraid to go into the Lions' den and impose their will. But I feel like Kansas City finds a way to get it done, knowing that they're trying to keep pace. I'm gonna pick the Chiefs.
Necessity at this point. Mm-hmm. What about you, Boxing?
Taking the Lions. I think the Lions. A fun stat is when the Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery both score a touchdown. No matter how they score, they win. They've won every game that's happened. So last week, Montgomery throws a passing touchdown because the Lions pull out trick plays still, even though they don't have Ben Johnson. Mm-hmm. And then Gibbs gets it done on the ground. So I feel like this game will be a good game because, like you guys said, it's necessity for the Chiefs to win this game. But I think the Lions pull it out. I think Dan Campbell's aggressiveness will overcome the Chiefs. I mean, lacking of defense, I guess you could say. I mean, they played a decent game, but you see arguably your centerpiece of your defense, taking key plays off like we saw the week before. And I'm guessing Spags will get on him and Reed will have a conversation with him. But I think the Lions get it done. I feel like the Lions are rolling, and I'm guessing it'll be a high-scoring game because the Lions' offense after that week 1 has just been bam, 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 putting up 30-plus points every week.
Well, I mean, Kansas City definitely – I thought they were moving the ball well last night in certain situations. Patrick Mahomes got the ball to 8 different wide receivers. Tyquan Thornton, 5 targets, 3 receptions for 90 yards, so averaging 30 yards on there. There's a piece that – I wasn't factoring in at the beginning of the year of how important is that role going to be on that wide receiver core. I mean, we've talked about the importance of Xavier Worthy when we get Rice back, but we saw some things that took place last night that shows, we still need to be able to spread the ball out and have a run-pass balance in our offense. And both Hunt and Pacheco, 7 carries out of the backfield, a couple of situations where they were involved in passing situations. And then I also like the fact that we had Bashard Smith getting involved in the game, and I saw spurts of greatness out of him. And, a couple weeks ago we did if you could go back and take any player from history on your team, who would you bring back in there of what you needed? My take was Dante Hall. You need somebody that's going to put you in a better field position to start off your drives, and he ended up with 130 yards, of special teams. So, I think we're seeing some components fall into place there. I mean, I hope so. This is definitely a situational game where you have a 3-2 Chargers and a 3-2 Broncos. And I said earlier, you look down the stretch of who's going to be that first team in the AFC West to get to 7 wins. The Chiefs have the toughest road to get to that 7 wins, and it starts here with out of necessity. I think that they understand that they have to make some things click here now, because there's a realistic possibility that you've got a Chargers team that comes out there and beats the Fins, and you got a Broncos team that's playing in London that beats the Jets, and those two teams jump out to 4-2, and you don't want to be the 2-4 team 2 games back.
Yeah.
And so, I love this. So out of all of our Sunday games, now we have 3 picks. You guys split on the Seahawks and the Jags, the Titans and the Raiders, and the Lions and the Chiefs. So at least we'll have some type of action to talk about next week. So.
Well, going back to what you're talking about, we talked about at the beginning of the show with Chris Jones. We had talked about how in the Giants game and the Giants and the Ravens games, how much of a presence, especially the Baltimore game, how much you saw Chris Jones after not really seeing him be Chris Jones, all-pro type the first couple of weeks of the season. So we talked about just last week how the 2 biggest things I felt like were the big turnarounds for the Chiefs was Xavier Worthy opening up that offense and Chris Jones and that defense getting consistent pressure and making those stops. And then here we are last night against Jacksonville, make a couple great plays. Kudos to Trevor Lawrence, but sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna find out. This will be an interesting week for the AFC West, and at least from the Chiefs' perspective of what takes place. So we go into Monday night. These are late nights going into work on Tuesday morning when you have doubleheaders on Monday night. But the first one we have is the Bills at the Falcons. So a little slip there. I mean, I don't know
Yeah, an interesting game for sure coming out. I mean, Buffalo loses in, heartbreaking fashion, you could say. Sucks. I mean, if it's a division game, you're going to drop a division game every once in a while because, you see these guys twice a year. They have the book on you. They know what your do's and don'ts are. But I like the Bills getting it, rebounding in this one. I mean, the Falcons coming off a bye week they've been planning for these guys, obviously, for 2 weeks now. But I don't think that's enough to get them over the hump with the Bills.
Same here. I mean, I like the Bills. You're going to have a couple losses to mediocre teams. It is the NFL. But Josh Allen, even last week, Josh Allen in prime time, 9 times out of 10 I'm going to go with. And I don't feel like Penix Jr. and that Falcons offense, even after they might be able to keep it close if they can get Bijan Robinson going early against Buffalo. But other than that, then I just feel like it comes down to too much offense for the Falcons. They might keep it close for a while. Atlanta's a loud stadium. It's a primetime Monday night game, but give me the Bills and Josh Allen to take care of business and get back to 5-1.
All right, last one. We got the Bears at the Commies. We had a little note here that this could be an upset alert. I mean, it depends what your take is on this game. Twitch, I'm going to start off with you because I see what's in front of me here. So, what's your take on the Bears and Commanders?
I feel like this game could be a trap game for the Bears, for the Commanders, just because the Bears had started playing pretty well right before their bye, and Campbell has quietly been having a really good season. I forget if his stat was like 7 touchdowns to 1 pick.
Yeah,
something like that.
he has a good stat line.
And then you look at that, almost all of his touchdowns to Udunze or whatever. Like I said, he's on the short list for Offensive Player of the Year with 5 touchdowns before the bye last week. So he's scored in 3 straight contests. That being said, the Commanders last week, he said, I'm going to write off the loss a few weeks ago to the Falcons. It's just having a backup quarterback and having another one of those off weeks. I said, but like the Commanders and the way they dominated, I like for them to take care of business at home. Jaden Daniels, another game back, and them to take care of business at home.
What about you, Box?
Oh, it's upset alert for a reason. I'm taking the Chicago Bears to bear down against the Washington Commanders / Redskins / Washington football team. I think they're going to get it done. Caleb Williams and the Bears before their bye week looked good. I mean, 7-1 is a good ratio. Roman Duzde's coming on, and DeAndre Swift's getting involved. But And that Bears defense is a good defense. I mean, we said that. We've said that even in their losses, in their 2 losses. Like, this is a good defense with offense had to figure it out. And I think Ben Johnson coming off the bye week had time to adjust and get his calls and like what he wants to run against the Commanders, who are 3-2, which is, I mean, they made it to the NFC Championship game last year. It's a good Commanders team, but I like the Bears to get it done and to bear down against the Commanders.
All right, so before we roll into our state of section of this podcast, I do want to come back and have Finn at least pick 2 or 3 more games, because this is one of my favorite segments, getting Finn to come in here
Yes,
and
sir.
talk about some of the games that he's been studying. He's got a lot of picks over there. We got a lot of family that's tuning in that loves this section. So you got a list in front of you there, Finn. What are some other games that you want to highlight?
Probably the Eagles-Giants rivalry.
Yeah, good division game.
And I think the Eagles are going to pull it out. But with the Chargers upset the other day, we never know. Because,
This is true.
and Giants, they're pretty good. But, yeah, Eagles.
All right, so you're going to take the Eagles over the Giants, and we'll put a big old F there for Finn. Then you talked about the Chargers going down to Miami and playing the Dolphins. Who are you taking on that one?
Probably the Chargers, coming off their 2-week losing streak. They're probably ready, and Dolphins, they haven't been looking too good. Tyreek Hill out for the season.
Is he out for the season? I haven't seen. I saw an ESPN video where he was going in for his surgery and telling everybody thanks for the love and the prayers
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So he is out for the season.
Unless they make the playoffs. I mean.
Unless they make
Yeah.
the playoffs.
And he picked the pack against the Bengals too.
So Pack against the Bengals. Yep. All right. Anything else out there that you think interesting? If you're going to tell people to throw your money on a parlay based on the thoughts of a 9-year-old watching the NFL from the outside in, any other games stand out? Any upsets that you see coming?
Probably the Seahawks and Jags. I'm going to go with the Jags. Just because they're coming off of a big win against the Chiefs. Going to take that momentum over to Seahawks game. It'll be a close one, but
I think so. I think that is going to be a great game. And by the way, your dad picked the Seahawks, so there we go. You're going to one up your dad and pick 'em's. This is it. He's going to just continue to spread out the disparity of your picks versus his. All right.
What do you got for the Lions Chiefs game?
Oh yeah.
Lions.
Oh! I knew I liked you, Finn.
Any score predictions on that Lions Chiefs game? What do you think? I think it's going to be a pretty high scoring game. We saw Chiefs able to move the ball. Obviously, that's not ever that hasn't been an issue for the Lions in the last couple of years. I expect a pretty high scoring game. I don't know what the over under on that's going to be, but
Right now it is set at 52.5.
That's great.
52 and a
I was
half.
thinking like a 27, 24, 28, 24 game. What do you think, Finn?
Like a
score.
42-37.
Whoa.
Like really
High score.
close.
He said,
Shootout.
hammer the over. Fun fact for you bettors out there, I'm doing this on FanDuel, but if you put $10 down into Finn's parlay, you'd win $69.74.
Okay.
So I'm putting that bet down right now. I'm riding with the Finn train.
Yeah.
But
All right.
yeah, that concludes Twitch and Box. We'll make sure to look out for our State of the Broncos Chiefs Steelers coming out before this earlier in the day. But big shout out to Twitch and Finn coming out and recording the podcast again this week. Appreciate LSV for having us back this week after week off. Missed you, buddy.
Yeah,
Glad
it was
you're here.
a long week in Chanute, nothing to do down there. So, but yeah. So, what else do we have to cover here?
But I think we're going to wrap it up here and appreciate everybody for listening to Week 6 of Twitch and Box Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and make sure to like and follow on X. We have plenty of content out there for everybody to enjoy. Got different teams' picks, different teams' takes in the comments, so be sure to be out there and active in those comment sections. But appreciate everybody for coming out and listening. Appreciate you guys for coming down and recording this out at Lakeside. And
Yeah, I think I do have a Colts fan that said he was interested in jumping on the podcast. So that'll be awesome when you see how they're rolling. Got a couple other people that might be interested in coming out. So again, if you're listening to this and you just want to jump in and get involved, it's great if we could do this in person. But there might be a couple people that we could do a phone-in segment or something if you want to do a hot take. I mean, we realize that I live out in the middle of nowhere, so those are difficult things to make a commitment for. But we definitely want you to have the opportunity to give a shout out and some love for what you see going on in your organization, because there's only a handful of teams that I'm diehard watching every week, and Twitch and Box are breaking down basically every game in the NFL that they can get their eyes on. So we'd love to have your takes on this, and if you have ideas for future segments and comments of something that you think would be an interesting take, throw that out there. We'd love to be able to incorporate your ideas.
yes, sir. But I hope all bets to it. I hope everybody stays safe this weekend, and we'll catch you next week.